Today, I'm going to talk about two shoes that I've been having so much fun running in lately, the New Balance Fresh Foam More Trail and the Nike Pegasus Trail 2 Gore-Tex. .98 miles and even 10 minutes per mile and 144 beats per minute today, going relatively easy in the Nike Pegasus Trail 2 Gore-Tex, going for the similar run a couple of days earlier in the New Balance Fresh Foam More Trail. Both of these shoes are quite a mouthful to say in terms of the names of these shoes, but they are so much fun to run in, and I want to tell you more about it. But first, let's go over some disclosures. The Nike Peg Trail 2 Gore-Tex is a pair of shoes that I purchased with my own money, and the Fresh Foam More Trail is a pair of shoes that was sent to me for the purpose of review in a prior video by Roadrunner Sports. However, in either event, no one's paying me to make this video or to include their shoe in this video, and no one's going to get a chance to preview any of my footage or my thoughts before you guys get a chance to see this video on YouTube. So, with the disclosures out of the way, let's look at the Fresh Foam More Trail and the Peg Trail 2 Gore-Tex. Now, on paper, they are pretty similar shoes, with the Pegasus coming in with 30 millimeters of stack height in the heel and a 10 millimeter drop and a weight of 10.9 ounces for a US men's 9. The Fresh Foam More Trail comes in with 34 millimeters of stack height in the heel and a more moderate 4 millimeter drop, giving 30 millimeters of stack height in the forefoot, which is quite a bit of foam. And it comes in at a lighter weight as well at 10.4 ounces for the same US 9 men's. Both of these shoes are featuring thick midsoles with soft, springy materials. The Peg Trail 2 with Gore-Tex coming in with React foam all throughout the midsole, and the Fresh Foam More Trail coming in with Fresh Foam X. Both of these shoes have soft rubber lugs on the outsole, which are not going to be so great for those of you that are running super technical trails, but for people that are running in local trails, parks, the kinds of places where I've been running here in rural Iowa, these are the kinds of outsoles that I just love to see on trail shoes. Both of these shoes have no rock plate, but they both have pull tabs. Overall, I think that both of these shoes are really great crossover shoes. Shoes that are comfortable on a variety of surfaces, whether it's paved surfaces, dirt roads, or light to moderate trails as well. As far as some of the differences or some of the nuances that I'm seeing with these two shoes, I think that the Fresh Foam More Trail is actually a really great max cushion road shoe that also happens to be really good on trails. The Fresh Foam X that's in here is nice and springy and soft, and it feels relatively lightweight. Neither of these shoes feel like they're quite as heavy as their listed weights might indicate. I'm ultimately enjoying the ride so much when I'm running on roads, having a great time with the amount of cushion that I'm getting. It's absorbing all the impact when I'm running on paved surfaces. When I'm on dirt roads, there's plenty of midsole stack height to absorb any of the rocks that might be poking through otherwise, or at least making making me feel their presence when I step on them when I'm on dirt roads. And then when I'm also on the trails, still feeling a lot of that springiness and softness, even when I'm on a variety of surfaces that I might encounter on the trail, whether it's railroad ties that are on there that are making the steps going up some of these inclines, whether I'm on the grass, on the snow, or hopping up over fallen trees that are still blocking certain parts of the path that's out here. And combined with the outsole out on here with the lug pattern that it's on here, it's not the most aggressive lug pattern that I've ever seen. And yes, the rubber is quite soft, but the lugs are deep enough and there are enough of them where I felt like when I was out there in the snow running in this shoe, I didn't have any concerns about loose footing. I mean, I had concerns about my footing because I was running in the snow and it was just very, very loose and deep in certain parts, certainly getting in past my ankles. So deep enough to make me a little bit concerned about what's underneath whatever it is that I might be stepping on because I couldn't see it. But I felt pretty confident no matter where I was going on the trails on this particular day. Now, while the Fresh Vomero Trail I think is actually the best on paved surfaces in terms of where this shoe can perform, I think the Peg Trail 2 is the best on dirt road surfaces. That's where for me it's been shining. I've really been enjoying it there. I feel like it's a speedy shoe. I feel like it's still a soft shoe. So it's hitting all the notes that I'm really looking for in a daily trainer. It's a shoe that I feel like I can just really put in a lot of work. It also is good on paved surfaces, but as I mentioned in some other videos, that's where I start to feel a little bit of the weight of the shoe, especially in the heel area when I'm on paved surfaces. But when I'm in the trail, when I'm in the snow, I think it does an absolute fantastic job. The shoe also has Gore-Tex in the upper, so that also is certainly going to help when you're in snowy conditions. But that's not to say that the Fresh Vomero Trail did a bad job in the snow. In fact, even though it's engineered mesh on this shoe, I felt like it did a really good job of keeping me dry. As far as the snow and the amount of snow that I was running through, none of that got into the shoe. None of it made my feet wet. So I felt like it did fine enough, at least in the conditions that I saw in my testing for this video, that it did a really good job, even though there isn't Gore-Tex on this. There is a little bit of like a rubberized or a TPU toe cap that's on here. No like actual toe cap, but just some extra protection up here at the top. That's going to help also with keeping some of that moisture out. And the further back that you go on this shoe, you're seeing less and less mesh and more of a material that's going to be a little bit more water resistant or water repellent. So I think that really also helps in keeping any moisture out of here. The one downside that I would say from the upper on this shoe is there's a lot of midsole stack height here. And it seems like they made that midsole stack height tall at the expense of upper. Now, I think part of it is like they want like visually to make it look like there's a lot of midsole here, which there is, by making like the amount of upper right above the ankle seem a little bit smaller. But it also at the same time just feels like there's not a lot of coverage in here. I just wish that there was a little bit more around the ankle, not necessarily for support, it just felt like it felt really low cut for some reason, and having like a thick cushion with like a low cut just seemed like a weird combination. In fact, it reminded me a lot of another shoe that I felt like had that same combo, which was the Nike Vomero 14. I don't remember if you guys ran in that shoe, but that was a React midsole shoe with an outsole that had soft rubber, but like bigger lugs than road shoes typically had. And I felt like a lot of people used that max cushion shoe from Nike as like a shoe that they could also run on a lot of dirt roads or very light trails in. And I'm getting a lot of those same vibes with this shoe, especially because that Vomero 14 had a really low cut ankle for some reason. It was a problem for some people, it was so low cut, but I'm getting a lot of that vibe here. And so I wish there was just a little bit more kind of like, not structure. I don't need like a giant heel cut, but it just felt like this was low cut and I felt a little bit exposed, especially as I got into some of that deeper snow. I did feel a little bit of wetness in the ankle, like the ankle bone where, you know, it's protruding up from outside of the shoe. So that was something that was a little bit of a wish for something that I would hope for maybe for version 2, is that there was just a little bit more to the more trail shoe, if that makes sense. On the other hand, in the Peg Trail 2, you got not only Gore-Tex to help you stay dry and warm in those winter miles. The tongue here is neoprene, and it's got like this faux like mini gaiter, it's kind of like a mock neck shirt, but it's like a mock gaiter that's up here that I just feel like it's not as snug as I would wish this could be. I wish it was more like a neoprene booty. I mean, if they went mid-top with this, kind of like the Peg Turbo Shield that they made last year, I wouldn't be upset about that at all. I love a good mid-top, especially for winter running conditions. But I do feel like this did help a lot of that snow from getting inside of the shoe from like the top down. So I feel like if it's going to be super messy, like torture test kind of conditions, slushy stuff, like this is something that you're definitely going to reach for. I think this shoe is going to do the better job of keeping your feet warm and dry, even if the weather gets a lot worse than what I showed you guys in the footage for today. So with all that being said, which one is the better trail shoe? I think this one, both these shoes are really similar and it is very close, but I'm going to give the crown to the Peg Trail 2 Gore-Tex because I just want to have that extra protection from the elements that this mock gaiter gives me, that the Gore-Tex gives me. I just like having that little bit of extra that's in there to keep me dry. So those are my thoughts on these two shoes head to head. Let me know what you think about that in the comments down below, or if you have any questions, feel free to put them down there. Better yet, feel free to stop by the live stream that I do just about every day on YouTube, 3 p.m. Central Time. I'd love to see you guys there, and we can talk about any of these things that you'd like. That's all I have for today, everybody. Thanks so much for making it all the way to the end of the video. Hopefully you guys are staying safe out there on your runs, and I'll see you in the next one.
Yo, what's going on?